Welcome to Moves That Matter. I'm your host, Dr. Clyde Posley, and I am delighted, as usual, to have you here tonight, this Tuesday night at 7:30. It means the world to me for you all to tune in to this broadcast. We have viewers as far away as South Africa, as Switzerland, Basel. I'm just excited. We have YouTube followers who are just doing a tremendous job to propel the conversations that we have all around the world. And so thank you. Just thank you so much. As you know, today's show will be a part 2 of the importance of voting and education about voting, getting out the vote. This is a crucial time in our world. There has not been in maybe a generation a voting season that is more important than this one. We have to make decisions right now that are going to affect the solvency and reputation of the United States of America for decades to come. You are alive at a time that your vote matters maybe more today than ever before. And so our show is designed to help you by informing you so that you can make, whether you vote Republican or Democrat, you need to make informed decisions about how the mechanism of voting happens, and you will know by the time we are done with this show. I have a guest today who is well prepared to teach us and give us the necessary information that we need in order to vote and be successful. I want to remind you before we get into that segment about my book, More Than Icons and Images, Uncovering the Hidden Protest Narrative of the Black American Athlete in the 21st Century. I'm currently working on a second book about how it is that we are situated as African Americans in America after 400 years and the minimal progress we have made. It's going to be a spin-off to that book, but not so much focused on sports. But the bottom line is racism and oppression happens in sports, in politics, in the church, and so on. And so my book, More Than Icons and Images, looks into the sports world and see how oppression and the use of the black male body over the years has been used as a racial tool to oppress people and make others millions in the process, while at the same time robbing the black athlete of their political voice. It's a book you can get on Amazon. You can get it on my website, drclydeposley.com. You can order through my Facebook page. Whatever you do, get the book, and thank all of you for purchasing the book, even despite a pandemic. So I'm going to be right back with you with my guest. She is excited to be here. She's well informed. I could not wait to get her on. She's doing a tremendous job. She works with my guest from last week, which is Tracy Boyd, and she's going to give further explanation to this poignant and important subject on how we vote, why we vote, and what it takes to vote properly. You do not want to miss this segment. I will be right back. I'll give you time to hit share in the meantime. Hi, we're back, and I am excited again to talk about this important get out the vote subject. This is part 2. Last week we had Tracy Boyd on. This week we have Nicole Ashburn. Nicole, glad to have you. Excited to have you. She is, as you all can see, she is sharp as the Board of Health on Sunday, and she is glad she's here and prepared for us to give you some more and explanations about what it takes for us to vote. And you're going to vote. I'm decreeing it. People who have not voted are going to vote in this season. So, Nicole, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Absolutely. We're glad to have you. And let me just take this opportunity to thank you for the important and well thought out plans, the cogent plans that you have been involved in to get out the vote. I know you can't talk about it all today, but you've been engaged in civic activity to make sure, along with Tracy Boyd, to make sure that this vote happens, and God sees it. God sees it. I was talking in Bible study yesterday, and I was saying, some people think I shouldn't tell people that God is on the side of right or anything like that. Listen, God is relative to voting. God wouldn't tell the president of the largest nation in the world to lie to his people or to stop the post office so that he can win. God doesn't do that.
Right.
And if God is not for that, he's against that. And so I believe that God wants to see a change, but he won't just make a change. We've got to make the decision to go vote. So, Ms. Ashburn.
Yes, sir.
Tell us about yourself and what you're doing relative to get out the vote in Indianapolis.
Okay, well, I'm working with Tracy Boyd, and we are working with Get Out and Vote 2020. I'm also the voter turnout coordinator for Antioch Baptist Church. So our goal is to get as many people registered in this short period of time that we have, which we have approximately 75 days before the election. So we want to get everyone registered. We can do that many different ways, and we want to also get people to go to the polls and actually vote. Absolutely, absolutely. You all may have heard Ms. Ashburn mention that she is the voter turnout coordinator at the Antioch Baptist Church, and she is galvanizing our church. We are gaining more volunteers, and I want to make another appeal to the members of my church who are watching this. We need 10 more volunteers. We need 10 more people who will commit to helping in this season. There's not a more important 74-day period of your life than right now. I need you for 74 days. That's 2 months and then 2 weeks. I need you to commit to this, and you will have eternal consequences that outlive you if you do what is right and help folk voice their opinions right now in this season. So, you are here, Ms. Ashburn, to give some explanation, further explanation to our conversation from last week. And so there are 8 subjects that we want to cover today. And the first one, and there's going to be some PowerPoints on the screen for you so you can follow along. I want you to take notes. I want you to record this. I want you to save it. And I want you to share it, please. So we're going to talk about these 8 subjects. The first one is that you have the right to vote in Indiana if, and then Ms. Ashburn is going to tell us. Ms. Ashburn, people have the right to vote in Indiana if what? Number one, they're a U.S. citizen.
All right.
They are of the voting age, which is 18 years old.
Mm-hmm. What if they're 17?
They can register to vote at 17 as long as they're as long as they turn 18 by the time the election occurs. They can vote.
Very good. Next one.
They're residents of Indiana, and also that if they've had prison time, so they have a felony, they can vote as long as they've done their time and they're out. As long as also they're, number one, registered to vote, and also live in that precinct for a period of 30 days prior to the election day. So they can vote of all those things on the screen right now. See that list? If you can vote, if any or all of those things are in place. And a lot of, before we go to number 2, a lot of our people have issue with felons voting. A person who has served their time and obligation, prison sentence, can vote in Indiana. Yes, they can. Don't let people tell you that you cannot vote because you've been to prison. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Your citizenship is in place. And one thing we want to add is that they want to make sure that they are registered. So they may have registered prior to they're serving their time, but you also want to check your voter registration status. Everyone really wants to do that because states are purging voters from their list. So we should be checking our status and making sure we're there, and that'll eliminate any type of issue that we may have. Absolutely. Check on, do a voter registration checkup. You go to the doctor and get a checkup. Check on your voter registration. Make sure that's a very good point. All right. Number 2, how to register to vote. You can register to vote online. You can do it in person. You could do it. Where can they do it? Where can they do it online? What's that website? You can go to indy.gov, and you can go there. I think it's in.gov, and you can go there and register to vote. You can do it by mail-in. You can also do it in person.
in terms of registering to vote, what are some places where people can register to vote apart from online?
You can register to vote at the BMV, and I believe you can also register to vote at the post office, and those are the two main
As long as
places.
Donald Trump hadn't closed it down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, go ahead.
So yes, but we want to make sure we get folks registered to vote. There is on the website, Indy.gov's website, you can go out there and really look at our trending, how we voted in each election cycle from year to year. There are, every 2 years we have an election. So you have your primary, which we call those midterm elections, and you also have your general election, which we know that's when we vote for the president, and that's every 4 years. So if you go there, and we also have a Facebook page, and on that page, it's there's a post where you can see how the voting trend is from each cycle from 2014.
Correct.
So there you can see how, you know, midterms, we really don't take those seriously, but we should, because that's where we elect our sometimes mayors,
sometimes senators, that's right.
Sometimes senators, city council, and sometimes there's an overlap. When we have that same year where there's a general election, that is going to increase that voting for the midterm, but we
should
want to
vote every time we can vote,
we can in every election cycle.
I had a young man say to me once that I don't get involved, I don't vote for president, I only vote for local politics. That's just ridiculous. You're affected throughout your entire life by federal funding.
Yes.
School, in fact, Donald Trump threatened to, and some states are doing this.
Yes.
Threatening school systems to hold back their federal funding if they don't go back in this pandemic.
Right.
Which is ridiculous. The University of North Carolina just sent their students back yesterday. COVID breakout, now they're going to online, which is what they should have done in the first place. And I know schools are important, and going back to school is important, but funerals are final.
They're final.
Yeah.
There's
All
no
right.
coming back. One thing I would like to say really quick is you mentioned federal and how, you know, funding comes from federal. One thing we need to know also is that the census affects that as well. So that determines our electoral college.
That's right. And boundaries.
And boundaries and funding.
That's right.
So
and congressional guidelines, how much territory a congressman is elected to serve over.
Exactly.
The census dictates that.
It does.
So people need to go ahead and talk about the census, please.
Well, that was it.
Okay.
Really.
Well, and because many people don't know, they can go do the census online.
They can do that online as well.
Right.
So you are right. They can do that online.
Right.
It's really simple. It's really quick. You should have also gotten something in the mail if you do not have access to a computer. So we want that completed. We need that completed because that does affect our communities.
And exactly. Very good. All right. So. Number 3, the third subject, third slide, it'll be up. What dates and deadline? This is crucial because a lot of people don't know about these.
Yes. So the first major deadline that we're approaching is the last day we can register to vote. So that's October 5th.
When is the last day we can register to vote?
October 5th, 2020.
When is the last day we can register to vote?
October 5th, 2020. October 5th, 2020.
All right. You got, because early voting starts on the 6th.
Yes.
But to register to vote, you need to get registered to vote before October the 5th.
Yes.
Please.
Please.
Ma'am and sir.
Yes.
All right. Go ahead.
All right. And also, we have early voting between October 6th through November 2nd. So that's the period of time where you can cast your vote early. So we want that done, period, because we don't want to have any problems with the post office, which we're having those already. Even though the postmaster has suspended some of his actions that he's taken,
not putting the rapid machines back in, right? So he really hadn't done what it takes to make this a fair election.
Exactly.
Right.
So unless that changes, even if it doesn't change,
that's right.
We
Early.
Register to vote ASAP. We want to return that ASAP, and we want to, once we get our ballot, we want to vote. We want to send it back, or we want to go there and vote in person.
That's right. What are some other deadlines here?
Some of the other deadlines, the last day that you can request your ballot is October the 22nd. So, and it has to, that request has to be received by October 22nd.
Okay.
So we're not dealing with a postmark
So
date.
to register in person or online, the deadline to do that is October the 5th.
Yes.
To request
It's October the 22nd.
an absentee ballot
Yes.
is October
it's
22nd.
October 22nd.
You got to get it. You got to get that request out before then
Yes.
and postmark before then.
Yes.
Take it to the post office.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Very good.
So, and
You're
then,
just a wealth of information here, Miss
I
Miss
try to be.
Ashburn.
I like knowledge transfer.
All right.
Okay.
Well, go ahead on.
Okay.
This is my show, though. Don't be trying to take my show.
Okay, I won't.
Okay, so you got the deadlines down. That's important information, and we see it on the screen. Please pay attention to that. I'm asking you to save this show, share this show, help somebody else with the knowledge that you may not have had about this. Let's go to number 4.
Well, the biggest deadline is November 3rd. We have to vote. That's election
That's right, because
day.
all this
So
is nothing if we don't go vote.
If we don't go vote,
Right.
it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's all for naught.
And when is the election day?
November 3rd. It's Tuesday, November 3rd.
Now, we use PTO for all sorts of stuff. Use the PTO that day.
I have mine.
Plan to be in line a while.
Yes.
Bring the chair. Bring the Yeti with the drink in it, water. Plan to be in line for a while because we are going to help change the country. All that marching. You're going to want to say amen because you're one of my members when I say this.
Amen.
All the protesting, all of the marching that we have done, if you don't go vote, it's hypocrisy.
Amen.
Because protests do not change policy. Voting, putting people in to change policies. And you got to vote. The fruit of a good protest is a strong vote.
Amen.
Somebody's going to use that. The fruit of a good protest is a strong voter turnout.
Amen.
You ready to move forward?
Yes, sir.
All right. Number 4, voting by mail. I know you have a slide up. Talk to them about it a little bit. You got absentee ballot, voter portal, local election office. Explain those to the people.
Okay, so voting by mail, again, you can request your absentee ballot. We have some that say voting by mail is going to create fraud.
That's a lie.
And that's a lie.
Well, Donald Trump said it, so we know it would have to be a lie.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, every day.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
And I know I'm being funny here, but I want to do on the camera here and really say this. There is no evidence of widespread voter fraud or even menial voter fraud by mail-in ballots.
Right.
Donald Trump does not want the Democratic Party and areas that traditionally vote Democrat to have access to absentee ballots because he knows that will increase the voter turnout.
Yes.
And he will lose. Every poll has him much further behind this year than he was to even Hillary Clinton at this time last year. And the way that Putin was able to move the way that the Electoral College was able to be manipulated in any way with the proven voter cheating was that the margin of error in these swing states was under 4. Absentee ballots getting in will make this a landslide if we will do it. Explain this voting by mail,
Well,
Ms.
and
Ashburn.
then when you compare, again, from each cycle, if we go back to 2014, 2016, if you do that side-by-side compare, you can clearly see that the volume of absentee voting compared to in-person voting is small percentage. Many times it didn't go above 10%. So
we want to change that.
We want to change that, and we're going to change that, number one, because we're in a pandemic and we want everyone to be safe. We want our seniors safe. We want our children safe. Our children, meaning our millennials, because I have millennials. I want them safe.
As do I.
Yes. So we want to change that, and we're going to have to change it, and we're making every effort to do that. So absentee voting, it is an option for us. Then there's the voter portal, where you can go online and you can complete that piece and request your ballot and get that information back.
So the voter portal is where you request the absentee ballot. Is that what you, yes, okay. So if you're a registered voter in the state of Indiana, you can submit an absentee mail ballot. Everybody understand that? You can do that.
Right.
You can do that. This is not, and as Tracy Boyd was saying last week, and you so explained, people just need the information.
Yes.
They need the information. Go ahead with the vote by mail.
And then you can go to, downtown and get that information. So you can print the ballot off online and complete it that way, or you can do the voter portal, or you can go downtown.
Which is the local election office.
Which is the local election office. I have associates where they have worked the polls and they have also worked in the area of counting the ballots. If those ballots are not legible, sometimes they won't accept them. So you won't get your information back in time to do.
So if there's a senior whose hands may not be as steady as they once were, have your child there to help. Have your child or someone with you to make sure that, or if a person's in the hospital, whatever the case, just not feeling well, have someone there. It's too important.
Yes.
So have your name legible.
Yes.
And if your name is Linda, don't put Lynn. If your driver's license says Linda, put Linda.
Yes.
If your name is Michael, don't put Mike.
Exactly.
Put Michael down there. Don't put your nickname.
No
Don't put your nickname. No baby, no nook, none of that.
What's on your driver's license
Exactly.
is what we need to see, because when you go to the polls, they're going to ask you for your identification.
That's right.
So not just driver's license, sometimes it's a state ID or
That's
your
right.
military ID.
That's right.
So those IDs need to mirror what you're signing your name to when you go.
That's right. I want to go to the next one here, but just imagine, because absentee, mail-in votes, the military uses them.
Yes.
The ones who are out of the country. Imagine if this fraud that Donald Trump is trying to perpetrate against America actually is effective. There are people serving our country who will not get a voice.
Well, that's very true, but if you've never served, you might not understand that.
Yeah. All right, let's go to this next slide. I believe this is number 5?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Primary elections. Talk to us about that, Ms. Ashburn.
Well, primary elections, this slide is important because sometimes when we go to the polls, I've even questioned it myself. Why do they need to know if I'm Democrat or Republican? Because they'll ask you that here in the state of Indiana, and you have to give them that information. So it's okay, because they know it anyway. There's a system I think it's called VAN, and it's Voter Access, I think it's Network, I'm not sure. But basically, they know how we vote. They know how often we vote.
Oh, yeah.
They track all of that information. So that's information
That's
that
how they say
already
registered
have.
Republican or registered Democrat.
Exactly. So just be okay with it. Give them the information so that you can cast your ballot.
Yeah, don't let that hinder you from casting your vote.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, if you are not with a particular party, you still can request the ballot, but you're only going to be able to cast your vote for those questions that are listed.
Right.
So.
We're going to go to the next one. Thank you very much for that. But just before we get into provisional ballots, I want to say something here. People need to understand the importance of voting in every election, whether it's primary, presidential, or whatever the case. And here's why. If you believe in a particular ideology of a president, like these policies that they're talking about they want to implement when they become president.
Yes.
If you don't vote, try to help get that party's Senate in and get that party's Congress in.
Yes.
So if you don't vote for Congress that believes those ideologies and then a senator that believes those ideologies, then what the president's ideology is cannot happen. We saw that with Barack Obama.
Yes.
He was trying to push health care in, what they called Obamacare, but he had Mitch McConnell, a Republican leader of the Senate, fighting everything he was doing, so his policies couldn't get enacted. So if we really want to see this change, in my view, vote straight Democrat.
Yes.
Vote straight. Now that's my view. You're trying to get people to get out to vote whether they're Republican or Democrat.
Right.
But if you want to see what the president say, you want to vote for Biden and Harris, then you need to vote Because the Senate is what's going to get their policies in.
Well, how we have
And the
to,
Congress.
Right, and how we have to vote in the state of Indiana, if you are Republican or Democrat, you're voting Republican, you're voting Democrat. So that's how the ballot is
Set up. Yeah. So, all right. Let's go to the next one. What is a provisional ballot?
Well, there, if you do not have the proper identification, you may be challenged. And if you're challenged, you can ask for that provisional.
You should ask for that.
You should ask for that. It's your right. You can complete that, and you can follow up on it with the election board.
And that vote will be cast.
Yes.
Right. That's good information. I bet you most people were not aware of that. That's very good. All right. Let's go to our next one here. We're gaining information here.
Yes.
All right. Who to contact if your rights have been violated relative to voting? Who should you contact? It's up on the screen. We'll talk about it a little bit, Ms. Ashburn.
Well, you have various agencies that you can contact. You have, and they go from local, state to federal. So those agencies, you want to make that contact. The information is provided on the screen. So if you feel like your rights have been violated, be that voice and speak up for yourself. Be your own advocate. Get your vote cast, because nobody's going to fight for you the way you're going to fight for yourself.
That's right. You can reach out to the Secretary of State of Indiana, the Election Division, Indiana Protection and Advocacy Services, Indiana Election Division, Federal Department of Justice. But because there will be attempts to stop you from voting that are illegal. You will have people will have the proper ID, because there are people who are working at the polls who don't want to see particular parties cast their vote. And as much as I've hated, I was functioning with the Strong Men, Strong Minds ministry that me and some of the city leaders have set up the other day. And I said this publicly: as much as it pains me, whether you vote Republican or Democrat, it's most important that you vote.
That you vote.
That you vote.
And we should want to do that. We should want to do that for various reasons.
Right.
One, John Lewis. That's what he fought for. John Lewis, they attempted to cross the bridge, the Pettus Bridge, 3 times.
Right.
And each time they were greeted with resistance.
Right.
But his final show, he crossed the bridge, and he was greeted with appreciation.
That's right.
He was greeted with just admiration. And he crossed it with no problem. So those agencies that tried to stop him, they welcomed him.
Absolutely. We just have a few more minutes, Ms. Ashburn, and I want to ask you personally, why, as an African-American woman, is it important for you to help get out the vote, and why does your vote matter so much as a black woman?
Well, it matters so much to me because of those who had come before me and fought for me. We wouldn't be sitting here right now if it wasn't for them.
I agree.
So that's number one. Number two is I have children, and one day I will have grandchildren, and I want them to continue the fight until we get equality and equity that we deserve as human beings, because we shouldn't have to treat people or teach people how to treat us like human beings.
That's right.
And it's just a requirement. It's a requirement, and it's a requirement because, we're here, and we deserve better, and we want to build back better.
Absolutely, and I believe we're going to do that. Kamala Harris said it last night, and I totally agree. Listen, thank you for your presence here, ma'am.
Thank you.
You've done a fantastic job. I knew you would. You've been working with Tracy Boyd, and
Yes.
you guys are well prepared. I knew that you would. Nervousness was not necessary. Listen, you've been watching the Moves That Matter show, and I'm your host, Dr. Clyde Posley. My guest today has been Nicole Ashburn for part 2 of Getting Out the Vote. There is not a more important subject to address right now in America than getting out the vote. Let's do our part. We have a responsibility. We are part of a citizenry that celebrates democracy, the freedom to voice our concerns through public speech, but also through casting our vote. It is our constitutional right, and no man has the right to take that which right from us, which has been given. I want you to know today, African American people, let's come together. Let's unify. Coming together doesn't mean you have some disagreements. It means that we move in one direction despite our different opinions. I'm asking you today, set aside your personal wokeness, your personal opinions, and your personal attacks for a greater and more common and more solvent and cogent and important subject. Dr. Martin Luther King said something of the many things he said that was so profound. He said, either we come together or we perish together as fools. On November 4th, if we as a culture have sat at home and watched the re-election of a man who clearly said we had nothing to lose because we had nothing, so we might as well vote for him. On November 4th, if you have sat at home, you have helped us perish together foolishly. I'm your host, Dr. Clyde Posley Jr. This is the Moves That Matter show. We're glad to have you, and as I always tell you, I want to tell you today, in life you are constantly making moves. Since you're making moves, why don't you make your moves, including voting, moves that matter? I'll see you next week. God bless you. Hit share, and thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.